Morning. Wish to call to order this meeting of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners. It's Wednesday, August the 30th. I will note for the record that Commissioner Jones and I are here, and Commissioner Thomas is not able to join us this morning. So we'll start with the Commissioner's public statement read by Commissioner Jones.
We, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, renew our commitment to welcome and protect the rights of all people, regardless of age, race, color, creed, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, marital status, economic status, and national origin. And we affirm the right of every person to live peacefully and without fear, and we will fight and resist at every step discrimination and harmful policies, whatever their source. We also stand in support of our county public school systems, both RBB and MCCSC.
Thank you. It's now time for department updates. We'll start with Ms. Kelly. Good morning. It's nice to see you in person.
Yes, thank you. Good morning. So just a few updates. We are continuing to see small increases in COVID cases, emergency department visits for COVID-like illness, and wastewater concentrations. However, the numbers remain far below past points in the pandemic. I have an update about the CDC's Bridge Access Program. This will provide free COVID-19 vaccines for a limited time after these move onto the commercial market in the fall of 2023. This will allow free vaccines to uninsured and underinsured adults. Free vaccines through this temporary program will not be available after December of 2024. As a reminder, the Public Health Clinic has vaccines available for all ages. You can call 812-353-3244 for an appointment.
Thank you. Questions or comments?
No, I don't.
Thank you for the update. Are there other department updates? Ms. Purdy.
Yes, thank you. TSD, did you get the link I sent last evening? Yeah, thank you. I want to recognize our Veteran Service Officer, Steve Miller, who is featured in the most recent Heading Home of South Central Indiana newsletter. And you can find this newsletter that's being displayed on our screen at the headinghomeindiana.org website. I just want to point out that Mr. Miller is a 20-year military veteran, and he has been working with Indiana University Center for Veterans and Military Students, as well as our Heading Home program here in Monroe County. And Mr. Miller and Mr. Blake, Andrew Blake is the new assistant benefits coordinator for the county, and they have been involved in case conferencing, which launched in January of this year, and that is actually facilitated by our Heading Home staff. And this is an interagency client-focused initiative. And what it's doing is it's focusing on next steps for housing for our veterans. And I just want to note that since January, 16 local veterans have been housed. And so I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Miller and Mr. Blake for the work that they're doing for our veterans here in our community. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. We are very, very lucky to have Mr. Miller on staff. And he always has a smile on his face. He's enthusiastic, and he's just taken on one more thing, obviously, to help the people that he truly, truly cares about. Is there any other department update? I see we have Jackie Nestor-Jellin with a hand raised. Morning. Good
morning, Commissioners. I would like to give an update about our County Development Ordinance listening sessions. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So on our MonroeCDO.com website, we have information for the remaining 2 listening sessions for the public to attend. I'd like to point out our flyer that we have online. We're going to be hosting 2 more listening sessions This Thursday, we will be at the Ellettsville Town Hall at 5:30 p.m. at the Ellettsville Town Hall room. And then the following Tuesday, we will be in the Monroe County Government Center, the North Showers building at 5:30. And the purpose of these meetings is to host the public, have them come, find out what their proposed zoning is, give us feedback about whether they like that zone or whether they dislike that zone, or the use table if they think that some uses are better fitting in some zones and not in others. This is really a opportunity for people to come and speak, and I really encourage people to attend, or if people have questions, we'd be happy to answer those before attending. We're hosting these via hybrid meetings, so you can also join via Zoom. But they're 5:30 this Thursday and next Tuesday, so if you want a chance to possibly sway elected and appointed officials in determining the draft zoning that will ultimately become the official zoning map, we encourage you to attend these two meetings. So I can take any questions that you might have, or yeah, I hope to see everyone there.
Questions or comments?
Not at this time, thank you.
I appreciate all the work and the way that you're reaching out to the community. So thank you for joining us today.
I'll go ahead and post the flyer in the chat if that's okay to
That'd be great.
the panelists and attendees. So thank you very much.
Fabulous. Okay. So this time, we'll open the mic for public comment. This is for items not on our agenda. We ask that you keep your remarks to 3 minutes. And if you do wish to speak, please state your name and whether or not you are a Monroe County resident. And I see that we have Mr. Jim Shelton online. Please go ahead, Mr. Shelton.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Shelton, Monroe County resident for a long time. Just want to update everyone again that CASA's fall training session will begin in just a few weeks. It will run from September 19th through October 19th. And this session will be in the morning on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So hopefully that will make the training available to some people who were unable to get there in the evenings, which has been the traditional time. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, it'll run from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There will be 10 sessions during that month period. Applications are due a week from this coming Friday. So on September the 8th, if you're interested, you should get your applications in. You can go to monroecountycasa.org, click on the volunteer link, and a drop-down menu will come up. And you can learn more information, and you can click on apply and actually fill out the application online. So we really need people to volunteer to work with these children who are in the court system, because nothing they've done, their parents have abused or neglected them. My case right now, the little girl is only 7 weeks old. So obviously she couldn't have done anything, but her parents unfortunately are having problems with drugs. So your job would be the eyes and ears, a separate set of eyes and ears for the court to help the judge, and it's usually Judge Harvey, know what is going on with the child, what's going on with the child's parents, what's going on with wherever the child's been placed. And just so that she or whoever is acting judge on this case can make good decisions for the child. So I invite people to please think about that, get their applications in, and I wish them good luck at being a CASA. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton. Is there anyone else with public comment? Seeing none, before we go to our regular agenda, we have 2 proclamations to read today.
Proclamation Recovery Month. Whereas Recovery Month is a national observance held every September to inform Americans that evidence-based treatment and services can enable those with mental health and substance use disorders live healthy and rewarding lives. Now in its 34th year, Recovery Month celebrates the gains made by those living in recovery. It also honors the tireless work of recovery providers who work so hard to make a difference in their communities. And employment can play a key role in recovery, and supported employment services offer new gateways to empowerment and recovery for people across the United States. And medication-assisted treatment is effective and can be integrated into both treatment and support settings to help people in their recovery. Medication-assisted treatment services can be integrated into clinical settings, the criminal justice system, recovery housing, and peer recovery support programs. And Monroe County takes great pride in being a member of the STRIDE Coalition and providing the space for the STRIDE Center, an alternative to incarceration for those in crisis.
Whereas Recovery Month celebrates the gains made by those in recovery, just as we celebrate improvements by those who are managing other health conditions such as hypertension, diabetes, asthma, and heart disease. Recovery is different for each person. For some, it is abstinence. For some, it is harm reduction. For some, it is counseling. And for others, it is following a medical regime. We seek to end the stigma attached to mental health challenges and substance use disorders, with the goal of making it easier for people to come forward when they are ready. We firmly believe that recovery is possible for everyone, every person, every family, and every community. Now, therefore, we, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, proclaim September 2023 as Recovery Month in Monroe County. Proclaim this 30th day of August 2023. And then we have a second one, and this is a proclamation for declaring Pantry 279 Day. Whereas Pantry 279 was created by 10 Girl Scouts ages 11 to 13 from Troop 69-279 in 2015. The original Girl Scouts have moved on, but the many volunteers and contributors, led by the tireless Cindy Chavez, have kept Pantry 279 going, benefiting thousands of area residents. In addition to providing food and personal supplies at Pantry 279, deliveries are made to those without transportation, and special efforts are made at Thanksgiving to ensure that recipients have traditional Thanksgiving food. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck, Cindy Chavez and the many volunteers kept the pantry open, offering food on a drive-through basis.
Christmas is also celebrated by Pantry 279 through community elves who provide individualized gifts to children and teens. From November 2nd, 2015, when the pantry first opened, until today, Trinity Lutheran Church in Ellettsville served as the host. Given that Pantry 279 has outgrown the space offered at Trinity Lutheran, we are pleased to support the pantry's move to a new, bigger space, one that will once again allow people to select their own food and personal supplies according to their needs and preferences. Now, therefore, we, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, proclaim September 1st, 2023 as Pantry 279 Day in Monroe County. Proclaim this 30th day of August 2023.
Thank you. I'd also like to point out that we will be having a celebration of Recovery Month on September the 8th on the Monroe County Courthouse lawn. It's Paint the Town Purple. We'll be here from 5:30 to 7:30, and we encourage people to come out and join us. It's for everyone to join. So let's move on. First item on our agenda now is approval of the minutes.
Move approval of the minutes, August 23rd, 2023.
Second that. Did you have any corrections or additions?
Nope.
I only had one, and I'm sure that Ms. Freeman has already taken care of that. So I'll call for a vote for approval of the minutes from August 23rd, 2023. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 2-0. Next item, please.
Move approval of the claims docket, accounts payable, August 30th, 2023.
I'll second, and we have Mrs. Miller here. Good morning.
Good morning. The accounts payable claims docket for August 30th, 2023 totals $1,175,681.16. This includes all emergency claims and adjustments.
I noticed that there were some checks that had not arrived, and so they had to be reissued on the claims this time. Any questions or comments? Commissioner Thomas?
No, I don't.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on approval of the claims docket for accounts payable August 30th, 2023. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes 2-0. I will note for the record that we have a report from Mr. Souter and Weights and Measures, and it was interesting in this month's report, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a store where the store was underweighing items, and he helped them correct that. So he's out there to ensure that things are correct for both sides, which is, I found really refreshing, and that he noted that in this month's report. So with that, let's move on to first item for new business.
Move approval of Walmart Community Grant for Bicycle Safety. Fund name, Walmart Grant, fund number 8939, in the grant amount of $1,000.
Second, and we have Mr. Baker here. Good morning, Justin.
Good morning, Commissioners. So recently, the EMA office has joined together with the Sheriff's Department to get a grant from the Walmart Community Foundation. And we got $1,000 on this grant, and it'll go towards to bicycle safety for the youth. The Sheriff's Department's having an event later in September that they will be handing out equipment such as helmets and other bicycle safety equipment to them. So happy to help the Sheriff's Department with this.
That's excellent. Thank you. And thank you for answering some of the questions that I'd emailed you earlier about. Questions or comments?
Just thank you very much. It'll make our youth a little bit safer.
Yes. And we enjoyed the nice cooler days, too.
Yes. Is there any public comment on this item before we let you leave? Seeing none, call for a vote on acceptance of the Walmart Community Grant for Bicycle Safety. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes 2-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Move approval of Fleming Interior Group for Clerk's Office. Fund name 2020 GO Bond, fund number 4813, in the amount of $4,037.70.
Second, and we have Mr. Kreider with us. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Richard Kreider, Fleet and Facilities. This request is to approve the proposal submitted by Fleming Interior Group in the amount of $4,037.70 to purchase 10 office desk chairs for the Monroe County Clerk's Office. There is a 5-year warranty on the eyewear mechanical parts, a 3-year warranty on the seat and back covering. The chairs will be replacing older worn chairs currently in use inside the office.
Great. Questions or comments?
Judging by the pictures, these are very lucky people.
The chairs were bad.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, a call for a vote on the Fleming Interior Group for the Clerk's Office. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 2-0. Next item.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kreider.
Move approval of Indiana University Professional Services for Wastewater Surveillance. Fund name and number to be decided.
I'll second, and we have Ms. Kelly here. Good morning.
Hi again. The Monroe County Health Department is requesting approval of this service agreement with Indiana University for wastewater surveillance. Wastewater surveillance is a tool to assist with tracking the spread of disease in communities through the use of a multidisciplinary approach. By partnering with Indiana University and the city of Bloomington, the health department will receive data that can be used to understand the prevalence of SARS-CoV-2 COVID-2, mpox virus, and influenza. I do have Dr. Justin Greaves here with me today that can speak a little bit further about the program and answer any questions.
So questions or comments?
No, I don't. I know this has been in the offing for a while.
Right.
Yes.
So you and I had been emailing back and forth about the cost on this, and so what's in our packet still reflects the old agreement. So do we have an updated agreement on that?
We do. So Dr. Greaves provided me with an updated agreement yesterday afternoon. It is in the agreement as $91,000 for a period of 2 years. If my memory serves me right, we were looking at 2 years, but is that correct? Okay.
And if I remember from what you emailed me, it was $3,500 a month would be the charge. Is that correct?
I will verify here, but that does, yes, $3,500 every 4 weeks.
Good. I feel better about having that specified because prior it was just an open-ended contract, and so I really appreciate IU working with us to really pin that down. But it's also set up so that if both parties wish to extend it, we can do that later, at a later point.
I did talk with Dr. Greaves this morning about that, extending that and changing what we are actually testing can be done throughout the terms of the agreement as well.
Just to sort of educate the public a little bit, one of the things that we saw with when they were testing for COVID in wastewater, we saw results on COVID before we saw people entering the ER in the hospital with this, that we were able to pick it up much faster. And the way this is set up, how at a granular level, how can we target where some of the disease is coming from, I guess? I mean, we'll be doing this in separate locations around the area, right?
Yeah, we can test throughout the wastewater network to zoom in on where it's coming from. Yeah. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, yeah. Because this is a public health concern, and so to be able to zero in on where it's coming from, I think is important as well. Are there any public comments on this item? Ms. Purdy?
I just wanted to note that the fund name is the ARPA Fund, and it is fund number 8950. And it's already appropriated at the $91,000, so that's the total anticipated cost over the 2 years. And my only concern is 2 years from now, if we have a contractual agreement for services, I'm looking at
It's
legal.
obligated as of
Thank
the
you.
signing of the
That's
contract,
what I
and then
wanted
it
to
has to be expended by the end of 2026 is the ARPA rules. So this would fall within both those parameters.
Thank you. That's what I was wanting to confirm.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the question and for updating us on the fund, and now that we have a firm amount, I feel better about that. So, seeing no public comment, all those in favor of contract with Indiana University for professional service for wastewater surveillance signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes 2-0. Thank you, Dr. Greaves, for coming in and joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Next item.
Move approval of an amendment to Monroe County Code, Chapter 440, Animal Management.
Second, and we have Mr. Baker of our legal department here with us this morning.
Good morning. Lee Baker, County Attorney, representing the Animal Management Commission this morning for another amendment to Chapter 440. The most recent amendment, which you may recall was in May of this year, May 17th to be specific. Following that amendment, one of the members of the AMC who did not participate in the tweaking of Chapter 440 that was approved by you all in May took a look and recommended a few more adjustments to Chapter 440. I'll direct you to those. If you look at Chapter 440, page 2, The definition of dangerous dog is recommended for amendment. The current version of Chapter 440 has two parts to the definition of dangerous dog. Animal Management Commission would recommend that the definition of dangerous dog be broken into three subparts for clarity. Their alternative, the definition speaks in alternatives. Two currently, AMC wishes for it to be set out in three alternative subparts. The next provision recommended for amendment, which is a deletion, is on page 5. AMC recommends the deletion of unprovoked, which is a term that was removed from Chapter 440 in May. So that will complete the removal of unprovoked from the ordinance. Lastly, if you turn to page 9 of Chapter 440, somehow this kind of missed the first round of changes which were addressed in May to Section 440-6, which governs potentially dangerous and vicious animals. There is not currently a provision in that section for microchipping, which is a tool, an enforcement tool that the AMC uses frequently. So that omission was noted pretty quickly, and it is proposed for addition under subpart 4. And I think that is the extent of proposed amendments and should serve Chapter 440 for the foreseeable future. I don't anticipate we'll be back for more adjustments.
And I'll point out that addition was only for vicious animals. It was not just for all animals that are out in the county. Right. Questions or comments?
I certainly agree with all of these changes, and I thank them for doing it.
I thank them for the attention to that detail. I think it does make a difference. I especially appreciate the microchipping.
I'll pass that to them.
Is there public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on the amendment to Monroe County Code Chapter 440, Animal Management. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 2-0. Thank you, Mr. Baker, for being with us. Next item.
Move approval of Vet Environmental Engineering, LLC, consulting services. Fund name and number to be decided in the amount of $2,350.
I'll second, and we have Mr. Cockrell to tell us about this.
Yes, the Indiana Recovery Alliance has gone through a grant process with the state. I think they've gotten an award letter, but we do not have the grant contract yet. And part of that was to help them acquire land and have a facility that is standalone for their substance use disorder services. As part of that grant process, the county is helping with the grant match and helping provide funding as well. Until that grant process goes through, we don't have a grant name, we don't have a grant fund number. It is anticipated at the end of the day that will pay for the service. This service is essentially they have a contract to purchase a piece of land. One of the requirements the county has placed upon them is to do an environmental review of that property before it is purchased. This is a contract for those services. We have better contacts with environmental people, and so we've taken on the responsibility of finding the vendor and getting the contract. But again, at the end of the day, assuming that grant award is given, it will be paid for out of that grant award or the opioid fund. It's just until that happens, we can't count on it.
Right. Questions or comments?
I think this is a good location that they've chosen. I hope it works out.
It is on a bus line, and I know that the folks involved with the Indiana Recovery Alliance are quite excited about having the amount of space that will be available there. They want to do more than just the harm reduction work that they've been doing so far, so I think this will give them a much needed space for things. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on Vet Environmental Engineering LLC Consulting Services. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 2-0. Next item.
Move approval of awarding paving projects to E&B Paving LLC. Fund name Motor Vehicle Highway, fund number 1176, in the amount of $404,575.
Second, we have Ms. Ridge.
Good morning. We opened sealed bids on August 17th, 2023 by county highway representatives. We've received 2 bids, E&B Paving and Milestone. We'd like to award the projects of Mallory Road and Mount Zion Road to E&B Paving, who is the lowest, most responsive bidder.
Questions or comments?
No, I don't.
And what's the mileage on this? Oh, sorry.
I did not write that down. I can get that for you, though.
No, that's okay. It's kind of a joke between us, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You got me on that one.
Is there any public comment on this? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on award paving projects to E&B Paving LLC. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 2-0. Next item, please.
Move approval of Bledsoe Riggert Cooper James Agreement Amendment. Fund name ARPA Drainage Paving Projects, fund number 8950, in the amount of $7,000.
Second, and again, Ms. Ridge.
Yes, we've been working on some drainage issues before we pave in Marlin Hills. So we had a contract originally with Bledsoe Riggert Cooper James. We would like to increase that to do a little bit more work with some utility locations so we can do some proper drainage repairs again before we pave it.
Questions or comments?
No, I don't.
I know a couple of years ago when I was up in that area with a friend, some of the swales need some help, that's for sure. The drainage is not great.
It's an older subdivision, older infrastructure, so we just want to make sure what needs replaced and can do some proper drainage improvements for the overall neighborhood.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on Bledsoe Riggert Cooper and James Agreement Amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 2-0. Next item.
Move approval of NDOT change order number 2 for Sample Road Phase 2. Fund name Sample Road Phase 2, fund number 8162, in the amount of $1,094,548.39.
Second, Ms. Ridge.
And to answer your previous question, it's 4.41 miles. Should have looked right here in my packet. This change order, we're trying to finish up to close out these projects. There was rock excavation that was not included in the bid documents when the project was awarded. In Phase 2, it was included in Phase 1, so it was just an oversight. We will submit the change order. It's a participating item for reimbursement. That reimbursement would come to $155,638.71.
Questions or comments?
No, I don't.
I don't have any. I will note that it's impossible to predict what you're going to run into in some of these areas.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident they should have had rock excavation, and it is Monroe County. I don't think that we've done any project without it. So again, it was included in Phase 1. I think it was just an oversight in the bid documents.
Fabulous. Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on the NDOT change order number 2 for Sample Road Phase 2. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 2-0. I look forward to having Sample Road completely finished. Although I understand it looks really good.
It turned out, it's a really nice project, really.
Next item.
Move approval of NDOT change order number 2 for Curry Pike Woodyard Road, Smith Pike Roundabout. Fund name Curry Pike Woodyard Road, Smith Pike, fund number 8164, in the amount of $13,867.10.
Second, Ms. Ridge.
And this one can give you an idea of how long it takes to close out a project, because this was completed last November. This is for a quality adjustment on the HMA overlay. It's just necessary to, after the quantities were reviewed and estimated, and then what was actually used. This should be the last item to bring before you to close out this project.
Yes, I think that the dog bones that you've put up there really have improved things and increased safety, flow of traffic.
Yes, I completely agree, although the first time I hit it was after dark, and I got very thoroughly lost.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, call for a vote on NDOT change order number 2 for Curry Pike Woodyard Road, Smith Pike Roundabout. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 2-0. Next item.
Move approval of ordinance 2023-30, amend various speed limit ordinances.
Second, again, Ms. Ridge.
These items were presented at our August 17th Traffic Commission board meeting, and then they come to you for final approval and then advertisement. It is all pertaining to our speed limit ordinance 86-09. We will be deleting a 40-mile-per-hour location at Old 37 North from Bethel Lane to Mulcurry, deleting a 35-mile location, Old 37 North of city limits to Bethel Lane, and Old 37 North, which was Mulcurry, to 1,500 feet north of Robinson Road. We will be deleting the 25-mile-per-hour location of Evans Lane. Evans Lane does not exist anymore after I-69 was completed. And then 8609, we're going to add 35 mile per hour from Old 37 on Old 37 North, 1,500 feet north of Wisnan to 1,500 feet north of Robinson. We are adding 30 mile per hour location from the city limits to 1,500 feet north of Wisnan on Old 37 North. We are adding 25 mile per hour locations on Bryn Mawr Drive and Justin Court, and adding a 20 mile per hour location for Evans Road, which is off of Rockport Road, to the dead end, and then adding a stop location on Justin Court for Bryn Mawr Drive and Bryn Mawr Drive for Snotty Road.
Comments or questions?
No, I don't.
I would note that there's a lot of bicycle traffic on Old 37 North, and so slowing people down should make things safer.
Yeah, and it was a little bit of cleanup work to coincide with the city portion, since it turns into city limits, so we were making it more consistent. And then when the road project is completed this fall, then it'll be consistent with the standards of how the road was built.
Excellent. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote on ordinance 2023-30, amending various speed limits. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes 2-0. And now I think that this is our last item.
Move approval of ordinance 2023-29, Lake Lemon Marina rezone.
And we have Mr. Myers of the Planning Department. Oh, I'll second, sorry. I've got now that habit, you know. We'll have Mr. Myers present to us today.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So on the screen is the slideshow I've prepared for this petition. This is the Lake Lemon Marina Rezone Petition, REZ-23-1, also known as Ordinance 2023-29. It's located at 9554 East North Shore Drive. It's currently zoned limited business and has 3.41 acres. On June 20th, 2023, the Plan Commission made a positive recommendation to approve the petition with a vote of 8-0 with the following condition. And that reads, 1, the petitioner contract an Indiana licensed engineer to prove that site distance can be met and approved by the Monroe County Highway Department. This information shall be provided before the petition is heard by the Monroe County Board of Commissioners. So that condition has been met. The petitioner did provide this document within the time frame necessary. It does indicate site distance can be met from the existing driveway and up the road. But I'll get into details of how all this plays out with the petition here shortly. So to start with a summary, the petition, the request is a rezone from limited business to limited business for a parcel totaling 3.41 acres in Benton North Township. The intention behind the rezone from limited business to limited business is to remove a prior condition of approval from Ordinance 2007-48. The petitioner wanted to remove this condition of approval, as highlighted here on the bottom of your screen, that required a shared driveway type design during the original rezone of this property. If the rezone is approved by the County Commissioners, the condition of approval for a shared driveway will be removed from the properties originally involved in the rezone. Following approval of this rezone request, the petitioner does intend to apply for a major subdivision preliminary plat amendment with a sidewalk waiver to remove the mention of the shared driveway requirement and remove the requirement to construct a sidewalk. It is staff's understanding that the shared driveway that we're talking about is both conditioned in the rezone of this property and the surrounding properties, as well as the subdivision final guiding documents. So we'll have to go through the Plan Commission again to remove this condition through the subdivision process. If the rezone is denied, the petitioner may continue to operate the property as Lake Lemon Marina under the limited business zoning district, but must remove a driveway entrance and instead use the shared driveway design that was requested at the time of the original rezone in 2007. The petitioner may still apply for the major subdivision preliminary plat amendment to remove the sidewalk amendment and the subsequent processes of a commercial site plan amendment and other planning items that the petitioner has been in communication with the planning department in updating the site and getting it all up to code. So now I have a bit of a background. The zoning map amendment request is from limited business to limited business. In May of 2005, a rezone was approved for 1.37 acres of a 7.53 acre parcel. The rezone was to change it from limited business to estate residential. And then following that rezone request, there was a minor subdivision petition that was approved by the Plat Committee that created 2 lots. Then that would be the 1.37 acres that had just been rezoned to estate residential, and it left 6.16 acres zoned limited business that retained the marina use. In December of 2007, in May of 2006, Planning Commission approved a 3-lot major subdivision, creating 2 new 1-acre lots and left 5.53 acres for the marina business use. In 2007, a rezone, Ordinance 2007-48, the one as the topic of this rezone currently today, was approved for the 5.53 acre lot that was the marina, and 2 acres of that 5.53 acre lot were rezoned from limited business to estate residential. And then it left 3.53 acres for the marina. In March of 2008, the Planning Commission approved a 3-lot preliminary plat amendment to officially create those 2 1-acre lots that were recently rezoned to estate residential. and it left the 3.4-acre lot for the marina. Sometime in April or May of 2008, a commercial site plan for the marina business was approved by county planning staff. To date, staff is unsure whether or not a LUC was issued for that site plan, but there is a bond on file for paving the marina site, which is also part of the impetus for these filings. The petitioner would prefer not to pave and instead get a release of the bond funds. In November 2016, 2 driveway permits were issued by the Highway Department and then retracted for properties listed as Lot 3 and Lot 4 of the North Shore Amendment Final Plat. Those were the 2 most recently created lots and rezoned lots from the marina property, and those addresses are 9550 East North Shore Drive for Lot 3 and 9548 East North Shore Drive for Lot number 4. Finally, in January 2019, a second final plat amendment was approved for the 2 1-acre lots listed as Lot 3 and 4, and that was to adjust previously dedicated right-of-way. And that plat was recorded on March 20th, 2019, and it has a clearly identified note calling back to that initial requirement of the 2007 rezone stating that the private drive to be relocated to the marina entrance per the Monroe County Public Works Department, also known as the Highway Department. So here are some of those plat documents that I was speaking on. This was the one from 2006 that created these 2 1-acre lots off of the larger marina property that maintained the limited business zone. Here's the 2008 Amendment 1 to the final plat. You'll note that these 2 lots to the north, Lot 3 and 4, were created. And it was in between 2006 and 2008 where that condition of approval for the rezone that changed the district for lots 3 and 4, where the shared driveway requirement was conditioned. Here we have the 2019 Final Plat Amendment 2 of the North Shore subdivision. And if I click to the next screen here, I have it zoomed in a little bit so you can see the driveway that was created for lots 3 and 4 here off of East North Shore Drive. Per the condition of approval of 2007 rezone, this driveway cut should not have occurred. It should have come down this direction through the easement and attached to the existing driveway cut that gives access to the marina. And there's that note here that indicates that the driveway should be relocated. Here is the original ordinance, 2007-48. This is also included in the packet. And it's that highlighted portion here on the right side of the screen that is in a topic of conversation this morning. It states, access to proposed lots be provided by an ingress-egress easement at the existing petition site entrance or via an easement from another existing driveway cut. No new driveway cuts shall be allowed onto East North Shore Drive. And the only way to remove a prior rezoned condition of approval is to go through another rezone, hence this petition this morning, and going from limited business to limited business. Okay, here we have some maps. This is a site condition map on the left side of the screen, and on the right side of the screen, there is a indication of the floodplain that is on the property. We do have some department comments. The stormwater department and the property owner or representative, Mr. Stephen Werner, had some conversations about culverts and other items that would be necessary given the condition of approval. There's also some conversations with the Highway Department and Mr. Werner regarding some of the requirements, specifically site distance. The Highway Department's main concern was site distance, and that drew up a lot of conversation through the Plan Commission stages. Here we have some photographs of the site. So this is the Lake Lemon Marina driveway. Where I'm standing taking this photograph, behind me is the Lake Lemon Marina. This is East North Shore Drive here on the screen, and across the street is another property. It's kind of like a campground sort of property. And then you can see the driveway cut here that goes over to the east and services two other lots that all come off of the same driveway cut and easement. So here's some photographs of another angle of the marina driveway. You can see the sign here, and it goes south to access the marina. In the distance, in the background here, you can see East North Shore Drive going up the curve, and also you can see that existing driveway cut that should not have been installed here to service lots 3 and 4. It should have instead come this direction and connected to Lake Lemon Marina's driveway. Here's another picture of that area, give you a better idea what it looks like. And this is a picture from the marina's driveway cut looking east onto East North Shore Drive. And then this is looking west, northwest on East North Shore Drive. And then just a few more pictures here. So this is the driveway cut, a little bit closer, that should not have been here considering the condition of approval of the rezone. Okay, so here we have the petitioner's letter to the Plan Commission, as well as a as-built survey of the petition site. Both of these items are included in the packet. We can come back to them if necessary. Here on the screen are the original driveway permits in 2016 that were issued and then retracted by the Highway Department. So they were issued and then retracted, as I said, given that sometimes these items of conditions of approval are difficult to track. But as soon as they recognized that they were issued in error, the Highway Department made the moves to retract them. And then here is the inspection report dated April 6, 2003 for lots 3A and 4A. Those are the amended lots that changed the dedicated right-of-way on that final plat that we recently saw from 2019. So this is just that document from the Highway Department reiterating that this driveway is denied. It should not be allowed to be here. And this is for Lot 2. This is for the marina. So this is reiterating that the driveway for the marina is allowed. This is Lot 2. Marina is labeled as Lot 2. So that's that inspection report. Okay, so based on that inspection report, Werner Group, LLC, who are the current owners of the property, they purchased the business that owned the property previously, which was Shell Group, LLC. They appealed the Highway Department's decision about denying the driveway. And that appeal was for the driveway for 9548 and 9550 East North Shore Drive. That appeal was made on May 1st, 2023, in the middle of the Plan Commission hearings for this petition. The hearing was held on May 11th. The appellant did not attend the hearing. Commissioner Githens was present for that hearing and reviewed the materials under that appeal and also made a site visit. And Commissioner Githens affirmed the decision by the Highway Department to deny the driveway permit based on those findings. So I included that here as it is part of this petition. It's worth noting how that interplays with the Plan Commission's role and being an advisory board to this rezone petition. It was kind of hard to determine, but we just wanted to make sure that it was reported on and included in this presentation. The Planning Commission ultimately did forward the positive recommendation 8-0 with that condition of approval. Yeah, so I'm going to keep going here. This is an updated letter from the petitioner, basically stating a lot of different items that they were basically making their case. This is also included in the packet. This was provided to the Plan Commission and reviewed during those meetings. So I'm going to click through some of these items. If during the petitioner's testimony we need to come back to any of these, we can. There was a lot of discussion about traffic data on East North Shore Drive as well. There are some traffic reports that indicate some crashes. However, in this section, I don't believe that there were any specifically. Yeah, there was a lot of good discussion about traffic during the Plan Commission hearings. Here on the screen now, we have the letters of support. So we have 3 letters of support from property owners in the area. Hamers own Lot 1A, which is to the east. Wiseman's own Lot 3A, which is one of those lots that's benefiting from that driveway cut that should not have been allowed per the 2007 ordinance. And the Gravelies, which own Lot 4A, again, one of the lots that are benefiting from that driveway that should not have been created from the 2007 ordinance. So we do have those letters here. I think I saw each of these individuals on the Zoom call as well. So we'll see if they want to make a comment during the public comment period. Okay, that brings me to questions.
Do you have any questions?
Actually, I think your presentation covered all of them.
You're very, very thorough, Mr. Myers,
Yes.
with what you offer.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to hear from the petitioner. So if Mr. Warner is present or present virtually, we'd like to hear from you. I can't, TSD, I can't see on the screen, and I don't have it pulled up to see. Yes,
I see his hand raised.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay, so Mr. Warner, please go ahead. Mr. Warner, are you there?
He was just promoted to panelist. I think he's
Hey,
trying to.
Can you
There we
hear
go.
me now? Sorry
Yes.
about that. I was on mute. I didn't realize. Yeah, thanks, Mr. Myers and Board of Commissioners for hearing our petition and working with us over the past few months to work through this. You know, it has been kind of a long haul and took a lot of meetings. And as you can see, we have support of all the neighbors. And really the overarching concern of ours is safety, number one. And that's what we think we achieved here in the end. We did, the marina did go out and hire contractors to remove some trees and brush from and got permission from the property that's right across the street that Mr. Myers referenced is actually a 200-some unit trailer park. So there's many residents over there. That trailer park allowed us to make, you know, to cut back trees on their property. So, you know, really I think, you know, overall our concern, we wanted to make it safe. And so, you know, we went out and we spent the money to do that. We don't believe, and our contention during the whole process was tying these driveways together would have actually reduced safety, because there are already, as you saw, 3 users on this the single driveway cut that the marina shares. So commercial use, which is the marina use, which is, it can be a very heavy use during the spring and summer, and then two properties to the east. And so putting this additional driveway, forcing it to come down on the marina driveway, would have had total 5 properties, 4 of them residential, which from my reading of the Monroe County Code should have never been conditioned, because earlier in the code, before all these other conditions, it says that, clearly says that no more than 3 residents can share a driveway cut anywhere in the county. And so I know why it ever got to this point. So if this driveway condition was enforced, you would have 5 users, including a commercial user, on one driveway cut. And we kind of demonstrated traffic flow by video of people coming over from the trailer park, the 200-plus unit trailer park, on mostly golf carts, cars with boats, coming through this driveway and how it would cut off those people to the west, those two residential properties to the west. The other thing is, you know, we did take over the business. You know, our reason for doing that, we've been users of the marina for a long time. And, you know, the Shells did a great job of modernizing some things, but in their later years of owning it, they let some things go. And the residents of the lake needed more services. So when we took over, we revitalized the store, things like that. Now we're providing some temporary seasonal food service that people on that north side of the lake, which there are, you know, thousands of residents of Monroe County and Brown County on the north side of the lake, don't have a quick place to get groceries, a convenience store, don't have, you know, real food service. So we're doing things like this, which, you know, is increasing traffic back to its historical kind of flow. And so we felt like if we complied with this particular requirement, we would actually be, you know, causing an additional cross traffic to the westerly plots that would result in less safety. And as Drew mentioned, we pulled 7 years of traffic incident reports. And there was not one single wreck in this curve that's the kind of you know, at issue here. And there were many wrecks along North Shore Drive. Most of them happening at the supposedly conforming subdivision that's just up the hill. And then also at Spillway Road, which is a dangerous blind intersection that's about a mile and a half down the road west from us. And so all of the accidents happened at those 2 points, not a single one in front of the marina or at this other non-conforming driveway. So, you know, with the removal of the additional brush and trees, we were able to meet the Monroe County Code for site distance as confirmed by Bynum Fanyo engineering firm. And so we believe that the site as it stands today is the most safe configuration for all involved. And actually, if you look at that mandate of the Monroe County Code, that there'd be no more than 3 residential properties on any driveway cut, that it is in compliance with the code in fact, prior to any of the other code sections that the Highway Department were looking at. So we thank everybody for working through this. We thank the Plan Commission who really dug into this. Many of them visited the site themselves, and many of them were skeptical. But at the end, you know, you saw an 8-0 vote because ultimately they concluded, like we concluded, that, you know, if we could make the site distance, that the property is safer the way it is. With that, my father may want to speak. He's my partner in, I'm Stephen M. Werner, the person who, I'm an attorney, but I'm a partner with my dad in this venture. He may want to say something. I think he's there in person.
Good morning, afternoon. I'm Steve Senior, and I don't really have anything to add. I think it was very well said and very well presented by Drew. And you know, I'd be glad to answer any questions. We just took over the marina. This is our 2nd season, and you know, we've made quite a few improvements, and we'll continue to do so. So, any questions? Be glad to answer.
Thank you. Can we ask questions, or do we need to take comments from people in support?
I think you could ask him questions now. You could take comments from people in support and people who are against, and then ask questions. I think it's up to you. I guess in my mind, the spirit of a public hearing is that if you have a question, you ask them now. So if the public has any any responses to that, they can chime in, but it's totally up to you guys.
Yes, I was wondering if any entity in particular is charged with making sure that the trees and brush do not grow back?
Am I still on? This is
Yes.
Stephen Jr. Yeah, nobody is charged with it, but we would be happy to take on that responsibility. It does require permission partially from the Lake Lemon Acres, which is the trailer park across, which we've gotten permission to this point. The highway department did do its own cutting first, which got us pretty close to the requirement. So the highway department does cut back in the right of way, but we had to do some additional cutting beyond the right of way. So I want to thank the highway department did come out and do some cutting itself. So in the right of way on that side of the road, the highway department does have the responsibility to maintain the right of way. And so we had to do some additional cutting beyond the right of way, and we're happy to continue to make sure that this requirement is met, because we feel it is safer that way. We don't want, obviously, any wrecks out in front of our business. So if that needs to be a condition or anything, we'd be happy to supplement what the highway department does in the right of way.
I'll add to that. What we took out was a lot of bigger trees that the highway department's equipment wouldn't handle. So, those are gone. They're not going to grow back. So I think it would take years, literally, for that vegetation to return to the state it was in. And, again, we'll do whatever it takes to maintain the safety on the street there.
Thank you.
But you actually have no authority to ensure that that brush doesn't grow back and create sightline problems. Is that correct?
As far as authority, I don't know if that's required. Again, we took out all the heavy trees that the county's normal trimming couldn't get. So I think just the routine county maintenance will maintain it going forward without any issue.
We have to worry about not just next year or the following year. We have to worry about 20 years and 30 years down the road. So that's why I'm asking about, I guess I have the sense that we're not able to force the folks across the street to keep the brush trimmed back. We don't have that authority to do that. And so I'm hesitating because of that. I would like to ask also, Mr. Cockrell, is it county code that there are no more than 3 residents on one driveway cut?
As you well know, I am not the planning department's attorney, so I don't know. I guess when that was talked about, I'm also wondering if there's a different standard for a residential driveway versus a commercial driveway. I mean, there's more to it than just the numbers if you're talking about differences in that, because clearly capacity issues are different with a narrow driveway than a wider driveway. So I guess I don't know, but I also don't know if a commercial driveway is also not materially different than a residential driveway.
I believe Jackie Nestor-Jelen has her hand raised on this. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I can reference, I think, the provision that Mr. Werner was describing. So it states in 856-21, which is our subdivision standards, it says that this requirement shall not be waived for any street or access easement either privately or publicly maintained that will be used to derive access by 5 or more existing or created lots. So because this was part of a subdivision, this chapter has not significantly changed in that time period, so they were meeting it at the time and they're still meeting it today.
So it's fine to have 1 commercial and 4 residential accesses onto a single commercial driveway, is that correct?
Yeah, so I believe, Drew, if you could pull up the aerial again, it was referenced, I believe, by Mr. Warner that there would be 4, which would not be triggering this improvement. It's 5 or more that would trigger this improvement.
It would be 5 because there are 2 residents to the south. I'm sorry, it was 5. It does trigger the requirement because there would be 2 to the west, our use, and then 2 residences to the east share that driveway with us already. So there's 3 users currently on the drive right now. If we were to tie this drive into ours, that makes 5, which is against that part of the code. This is a subdivision. It does not make any difference whether it's residential or commercial. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say residential or commercial. 5 users. And so that's our contention, that it's prohibited by that part of the code, and we don't find anywhere in the county where that's a mix of commercial and residential with 5 users exists.
Sorry, Mr. Warner, I'm seeing 4 total, and I can share my screen. Maybe I'm missing something.
Remember, there were 2 lots to the east that share the drive.
So there's this lot here.
Yep, and the next one.
This lot has its own driveway.
Oh, I thought they originally shared that cut. Okay. What am I missing? Okay, so it makes 4. Okay. I thought it was 3, so I must have made a mistake.
Okay.
If it's 5.
Thank you. I don't know whether Ben is still available or if Ms. Ridge wants to answer this. Did you receive the engineering report from Bynum Faneuil?
This is the first that we've seen it.
So it was not delivered to the highway department as it was supposed to have been?
No, and I checked with Ben when it came up on the screen, and this is the first time he had seen it also. Now, if it was sent to our engineer, I think we were in discussion yesterday, he never mentioned that he received anything before seeing it in this packet.
I apologize for that. That report was uploaded onto the rezone application online, but I guess that did not get translated to the highway department. That is my mistake.
Okay, but it had to be approved by the highway department, and they have not had a chance to review or approve it then at all. I'm very concerned. I've been out to the site twice. I went out again on Monday. I took pictures. And I'm very concerned about cars coming east that are coming from the west of the two houses, because when they're coming down that road, they're coming down a hill around a curve. And I think the potential for them to hit a vehicle entering or exiting the illegal drive, I think that creates a problem. And I would rather avoid accidents rather than to say, oh, well, there hasn't been one to date, so that ensures that there won't be any in the future. I just don't believe that that's true. And so I'm not happy about how this has been handled. I'm not happy about the fact that no one showed up for the highway driveway appeal, and the fact that the trees and brush can grow back, that we have no authority to ensure that they stay trimmed back the way they would need to for safety purposes. But at this point, if you have any other comments or questions, please.
No, I don't.
And then we'll hear from folks that are in support of the petition. Are there people that wish to speak in support of this petition? If so, we have a 15-minute total time limit for that. Please raise your hand or come to the podium in the Net U Hill room. Yes, I see. Is it Hammer? Is that the correct pronunciation? Please identify yourself first and last name.
Yeah, I'm actually Karen Hamer. I own the property at 1A, which is on the east side. I actually also own the property in front of the marina, so I'm not sure why you're thinking is the marina actually doesn't own the driveway at the very front where the blue is pointed. It is actually under my house, which is residential. I wanted to make everyone clear on that side of things, and it seems to be ignored at this point.
Correct. I understand that your house is residential. Thank you.
Yeah, and we own the frontage where you want to add the driveway. We actually own that property, not the marina.
Right. But it's supposed to be a shared driveway. So are you here to speak in support of this petition?
I'm actually supporting the marina because obviously it doesn't make sense to have more houses come down to that driveway. Also, it makes us more liable, as our house is more liable to accidents as well, not just the marina at this point, which is a very major concern of ours. Also, back in 2007 and 8, the board had mentioned their concerns about us all joining at that point, and other alternatives were supposed to be looked at. I've looked at the minutes ever since, and it's been ignored because there is actually a driveway in front of one of the houses. It's been there since the marina's even been set up, and that was originally the access to the marina. So a lot of neglect has been happening through the years. Obviously, this is a 16-year-old thing that was set. Houses have been built, and yeah, I'm just concerned and obviously backing up everything the marina's done. They've done a fabulous job of making sure us neighbours are well aware of what's going on and always consult us on everything. So I'm backing up the marina's support on this thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hammer. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in support of this petition? Seeing none, is there anyone who wishes to speak against this petition? Again, you have a total of 15 minutes. Seeing none, Mr. Cockrell, is this a point where the petitioner can respond to some of the statements?
Yes, they would have a rebuttal, ability to rebut, and then.
Okay. So.
Am I still on?
Yes.
Okay, this is Stephen Warner again, Jr. So first of all, I understand your point about your worry about long-term tree removal and brushes. However, I believe, and staff can look this up, that the sightline standard changed significantly from when this condition was first put in. I believe it was 300 feet on the original, and then it got increased over the years to 335 feet. And so if at the time, and so what I want to highlight here is that it was short of the 335 by just 10 to 20 feet, okay, which was over the original standard. And again, we pulled all available records of traffic incidents in this area on this road, and there have been no accidents. We believe that the configuration, you can really focus on the sight line, or you can also look at what you're basically creating is a six-way stop with crossing traffic, especially during the season, in a dangerous way to get to conflicting uses. What's missing in the Monroe County Code that most other major jurisdictions have is a separation between residential and commercial uses in their in the similar parts of their code, or provisions for mixed use, which this is. And so, number one, that this is basically being treated as a residential subdivision is kind of ignoring reality, and it's a limitation of the code. And so, if the commission doesn't follow the recommendation of the Plan Commission today, we believe that it's making this site less safe. We do believe that because its lack of enforcement for so long, that it has created, like Ms. Hamer said, an acquiescence among the residents. And there are other more dangerous things happening here, like she mentioned a driveway that's on the property of these two lots that we're discussing, tying their driveway, that should have never been approved. There's the supposedly conforming residential subdivision down the road has many accidents, and we're wondering why we're being singled out when we're actually trying to preserve the existing safety here. So, due to the multiple non-conformances that have been acquiesced to and aren't being addressed here, that we'll probably have to go to court over this, because it just doesn't make sense that this particular that we're not sitting here as sober individuals and saying this is a mixed use, and it's dangerous to put all of these residential users crossing traffic, which we showed by our video, and if Drew wants to show it, if he has it queued up or something, where predominant traffic during the season is coming from these, if you can zoom out on that map, there are 200 residences right across from this drive that cross right into our marina for convenience store, gas use, and now you're going to tie these people to the west to that. If there's not an accident within months of this happening, based on what we see just up the road with the Gray Avenue configuration, without a 200 unit trailer park across the street from it, it's just not, it's ignoring reality here. And the plan commission and the Board of Commissioners here, that's why we have public, and we have citizens on these boards to look at these things and say, when the code doesn't make sense, and it doesn't make sense in this, and I think the Plan Commission finally came to that realization that the original rezone condition in this case doesn't actually improve safety. It actually reduces safety when you really look at it and think about it. And especially in light of the other non-conforming driveways along this same stretch of road. And when you look at the actual data over, you can look back as far as you can, and there has never been, and that driveway cut that we're talking about eliminating has been there the entire time. It's not new. It wasn't really added. It's been there for decades. The idea though that it was added or permitted later, it's only because of the subdivision that happened. And really, the code calling this a subdivision, when probably back then what should have happened is our parcel, the commercial parcel, been separated from the residential parcels. I don't believe it should be considered a subdivision, honestly, and I don't know why that decision was made to do it this way, but in other jurisdictions, in Indiana, you wouldn't mix, or you would have a mixed use parcel with different standards because of the commercial use. And I'm saying what you guys are contemplating enforcing on us is not safe. In that even if the brush and the trees grow back, we still have over 300, we proved throughout the process, there's still well over 300 feet of sightline distance, which is safe and was safe under the code at the time. There is a high visibility sign for pedestrian traffic also that the highway department has installed right, and one of the pictures show it. There are reflectors on that driveway. There's all kinds of safety indicators that would obviate the need for the total sight line as well. So the highway department put a pedestrian crossing a sign right before as you come down that hill. And so if people aren't on notice to slow down from the 30-mile-per-hour speed limit that's already enforced there by that pedestrian sign. I know I come down that hill weekly myself. My dad lives up the hill. It's not unsafe. It's just not.
So what is the, Mr. Myers, do we have a measure on the sight line to the west from the illegal driveway? I can't, wait, you're muted, Mr. Myers.
Yes, here on the screen is the report that was provided to planning staff by a licensed engineer or surveyor that indicates that site distance with the recent removal of vegetation. That site distance from the existing driveway cut is about 335 feet to this point here.
But that crosses lanes of traffic that could be, those sight lines could be blocked by traffic moving the other way. Is that correct?
I would assume that the highway department would be best to answer site distance questions. Although any type of vehicle driving an opposite direction from the traffic that which you're trying to see could certainly cause a temporary lapse in sight line. I will make a note too about the authority to remove vegetation on the neighboring property. It is possible that the property owner could provide some sort of maintenance plan with consent from that property owner that allows them to go onto the property to cut back vegetation when it's necessary. And I will also note that if the commissioners do feel like they need more time to make a decision or want more time to evaluate all of this information, you do have until September 13th at the latest to review this petition. That is, September 13th would be the last date available before the 90-day requirement is met. Or deadline, I should say, not requirement. Thank you.
Ms. Ridge, I was just wondering if the department would be able to look over the engineering report before September 13th or whatever meeting falls just before then.
I can speak to our engineer. I don't know if, I'm thinking part of the time he's out for a vacation, but we can pass this on to him and get an engineering judgment from him if you would like.
Well, it sounded like ordinarily you would have looked over something like this.
Correct, yeah, and I believe that was part of the condition that the Plan Commission passed, was that the highway department which would be our highway engineer, would have the chance to look at this before, I guess I kind of feel like put on the spot at the meeting, because, yeah, I would be happy to have our engineer take a look at this.
Well, and I will note for the record that that condition, the petitioners have known about for a full month, because the date that Tammy Behrman, who was the acting director of the planning department, she signed that on June the 30th of 2023. So they've had a full month to get this to you. And so I'm very disappointed that that's the situation. I'm really not inclined to override the previous zoning decisions, and also part of my feeling about this is that there are not to be new driveway cuts on East North Shore Drive, and so I'm inclined to go with the original rezone. But if my colleague wants to wait a week to get input from the Highway Department, I'm happy to do that.
I would prefer to do that. I'm not quite so disinclined to support this, but would like to definitely have assurance from the Highway Department that everything is as we've been told it is.
Well, and I guess for me also, I don't think that the petitioner and the owner across the street can sign an agreement in perpetuity to ensure that the brush is kept cut back. And so that's one of the things that's weighing on me also, that the trees and the brush, because they can grow back, and even if there's a temporary contract, there's nothing that ensures that it would be kept trimmed back all the time. We would not have the authority to go in and ensure that that is in place.
I think I have another question about that. It sounds like actually the Highway Department is able to take care of the brush and all that might grow there, and the problem was really large trees that you did not have the equipment to handle. So that fell to the property owners. But in the future, if there are not large trees, can the Highway Department keep it all cut back?
If there is a condition or a hazard that's impeding into the traffic and affects the safety of the motorist, then we will try and cut brush. We have 725 miles of roads to maintain. Again, a lot falls back on a property owner to maintain their property. It's their trees, but again, if it impedes into our right-of-way, then we will try and eliminate that hazard. And I guess I just want to comment about the part of Mr. Werner saying that he is being singled out. Just speaking on behalf of the Highway Department, we're following our guidelines. There was a condition that was put into this subdivision in 2006, 2007. It's been to the Plan Commission, as Drew stated, and presented 3 or 4 times since then. The driveway requirement was never eliminated. It stayed there. It's a recorded document. So we're just trying to follow our code, follow what is right. And then we also informed Mr. Werner about the driveway appeal. Of course, he didn't show up at that hearing. We've spent a lot of time on this. And it's very disappointing to come to this meeting and see that there's another document that has been presented that we never saw.
I just want to say that it wasn't due to our lack of diligence. We provided it to Drew, and our understanding that Drew was providing it to you. It was entered in the public record on time. As soon as we could get it from the engineer, it was immediately put in public record for anyone, including the Highway Department. It was our understanding that we had met the condition on time. It did take some time to schedule somebody to get it. First, the Highway Department did come on its own at this stretch of road and remove brush, which indicates that it regularly does this. It could not remove some of the trees. Those trees, we agreed to pay. We had this Bynum Faneuil engineering group out of Bloomington come out and tell us what we had to do to meet this exact requirement. And it required the removal of trees that the highway department couldn't. We spent money to do that. It did take some time. We did get this document in on time to Mr. Myers. As he said, it was not passed on to the highway department at that time. Had I known that it wouldn't have gotten it, I would have sent it directly. I thought I was following the process as it was explained to me, and it was put on the portal as soon as it was made available. So it's not like we were hiding anything or delaying anything. And I don't necessarily disagree with anything that you just said. It's just that I guess we made an issue of this because we don't feel that it's right or safe or makes a lot of sense for us or the community. We have nothing but support from the community, including the owner across the street, because the owner across the street knows that its residents depend on us, and they're the ones that are highly trafficking this particular driveway to get to our property and use it. Many of them are members that have boats at our marina. We have 130 slips. Many of them get convenience store items that would otherwise cause them a 20-minute drive at least to get to. So adding 2 more residential properties to this driveway would cause confusion, as I showed on the traffic video. These people coming over, and mostly in golf carts, because they can just cross the street in a golf cart. And it's really, if you looked at that video and realized during high times during the season that this is going to cause traffic confusion, and doesn't make a lot of sense given the mixed use here. And that's all we're saying. Whether you did your job or not is not, I don't think it's at this point material. Really, we're concerned about the safety. It is safe now. It's proven safe because over many years of traffic reporting, there have been no traffic incidents around this curve. Again, this driveway is not a new driveway. That is another falsity that keeps being brought up. It has been here for literally decades. The only difference is they asphalted it and then solidified it when it was changed to a residential property. So it was a campground, in fact. So the traffic to this driveway was infinitely larger at some point in the past. It was 20 to 30 campground sites off of this driveway, and an additional driveway for the other marina uses. So the idea that we're creating that it would somehow improve traffic it didn't make sense at the time. And looking at the record, I don't think this was advocated for effectively by the prior owners who, were not attorneys, were not represented in those meetings by attorneys, looking at and making an argument here for, hey, the code is with the code. We understand the code, but sometimes the code fail to fit the situation. And that there is a mixed use here. The code doesn't, the Monroe County Code, I live in Indianapolis and deal in Marion County, there are provisions for mixed uses, different provisions. And really, if you look at the traffic video and think that adding these 2 residences to the west to this driveway isn't going to cause a traffic snarl at some point and probably an accident, you're not looking at it with an objective perspective.
Ms. Rich.
Ben, can you confirm the year that that driveway was installed?
Yes, it's 2016. I'm looking at aerials going back to 2005. It was not there prior.
Okay, so
Was there a driveway
7
to the
years?
campground?
Okay. Thank you, Ben.
Was it in this, it may not have been in the same location, but there was a driveway.
There was no driveway other than the one that was spoken about during the planning meeting at
Right.
9504, which
Right.
has nothing to do with us on this. We're talking about the one that's recently been blacktopped.
Right. But there was a campground driveway. So can you show where the how people entered the campground?
Aerial imagery only goes back to 2005. This is what we have in 2005. Let me click here, which wants to load. This is 2010.
Right.
2011, 14, and 16. And then there's a gap between 16 and 19 where the driveway cut appears.
Right. But the campground was operated before then, so I guess that's, I think what I'm saying is that there was an ingress there for decades. It did apparently get removed at some point. So from our point of view, it wasn't, I believe the pathway was sort of there, but it doesn't show up because that campground was removed before around 2005 when they began developing these into residential lots, when they began the process of it, which did happen around that exact same time. So unfortunately, you can kind of see the dirt there. Unfortunately, it may have been just dirt at the time, but it's not like there had to be an ingress to the campground area that these parcels were divided out of. And it may have been that northern drive too that's on the property that shouldn't be there also. You see that the other residence's driveway is cutting through the property, and that should not be happening too.
Could I make a suggestion that, I think that
You see
the rebuttal period is maybe past, so would
Sure.
it be helpful if, commissioners, that we delay this as a decision point? Do you want us to come back at a later date?
Yes, I would like to,
I would suggest if you're moving this to a later date, you move it to next Wednesday.
yes. I would like to move this to next Wednesday if we can get everything, hopefully we can get all those questions answered by then, because we do have to have a decision on this prior to September the 13th.
And I guess, is this being moved for the purpose of allowing Highway to engineer to formally review the document in question and report back to you?
Yes.
Okay, so you get that information and then you can make a decision.
Yes. So I'd like to move that we table this petition until next week, which would be September the 5th at our regular meeting. And in the meantime, we will work with our highway department to have them review the information submitted by the engineer.
And the Wednesday's the 6th.
Yeah.
Oh, 6th, okay, thank you. Thank you.
Second.
Is there any discussion about tabling this?
No.
Then I'll take a vote, or do I need public discussion on tabling?
I think you would just take a vote. You don't do public comment on tabling.
Okay, so call for a vote on tabling this item until September the 6th. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 2-0. Thank you very much. We'll move on to announcements at this point. We have no appointments. I'll remind everyone that free COVID tests are still available at the Health Department at 119 West 7th and at the Monroe County Public Health Clinic at 333 East Miller Drive. We are still accepting applications for certain boards and commissions. We do hold office hours 6 times a week, or 6 times a month. My goodness, 6 times a week. Ooh. Please join us. You can check the county calendar to find out when those are and click on them to talk with us one-on-one. We continue to hold blood drives with Ivy Tech. The next one is Thursday, September the 7th from 1 to 6 p.m. There's one on Friday, September the 8th from 10 to 3. And if you gave this month, you can't give again for 8 weeks, so you could sign up on Wednesday, October the 18th from 10 to 3 or Thursday the 19th from 1 to 6. There are a lot of different things you can find at the Monroe County website, including sign up for our county alert system. And if you have are someone that's in need due to financial need, if you qualify, please contact your township trustee for further information because we have made excuse me, additional funds available. Finally, I want to invite everyone to join us on September the 8th from 5:30 to 7:30 for Paint the Town Purple in celebration of Recovery Month. And with that, the meeting is adjourned. We will be back next week on September the 6th, 2003. We do have several items on our work session. It's now 11:49. How soon should we come back?
12:10.
Huh?
12:10.
We'll come back at 12:10 then, take a 20-minute break, and we'll see people then. Thank you, everyone.